Good evening, everybody. It is currently 12 o'clock in the Netherlands, but if you are seeing this in America, it is probably a lot earlier for you guys. Hope you had a good day. We're going to look at AMX exploration today, so let's just dive straight into it. A little bit of housekeeping. I have changed up the style of the presentation. I am trying to figure out what style is good for me and what looks the best. So if you like it like this, let me know, and then I know what to do with it in the future. But back to business. Amex Exploration. It is an exploration stock that can be found on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the ticker AMX and on the over-the-counter market under the ticker AMXEF. And today is the 27th of October. We are going to talk about the management of the company, the projects that they currently have, the capital structure, the balance sheet, the details, and my opinion about the stock. First off, let's start with the management. We have only one picture today from Victor Cantor. Patrick and Pierre, I couldn't find any pictures of them, so I left a blank box. Maybe we'll fill those in the future if I ever meet these people in real life. But the CEO has been the CEO of this company since 2016. So this CEO has a little bit of history with the company. That is always good. He's been through the bear market. He's seen the bull market in 2016, the bear market of 17 to 2020, and then the bull from 2020 to 2021, and the bear from 21 till a couple months ago. So that's a little bit of experience. I say that so clearly because he has no clear background in mineral and exploration spaces before joining Amex Exploration. At least that's what I can find on the internet right now. He might have some experience, but that's not what I could find on the internet. What I did find is that he had 20 years of experience in equity and debt financing, mergers and acquisitions, and joint venture partnerships. Joint ventures are used a lot in the junior exploration space, so maybe that's where his experience comes from. But as far as I could tell, I couldn't find any specific names of companies that he's worked with. So that's why I say that it's not clear what his background is in the mineral exploration space. The same goes for the COO, the chief operator. He has been the COO since 2013. And before joining the company, before joining Amex Exploration, this sir had a presidency at OpSense. That is a fiber optic company that specializes in gas and oil applications. It also does a lot of things in the pharmaceutical industry, but this seems like a very specialized company. He is also the president of, or he has been the president of Rocktest, and that is a manufacturer of geotechnical instruments for rock sampling. So that is probably where the link came from with Amex Exploration, that he has industry knowledge about geotechnical surveys and geotechnical instruments. The CFO of this company has been here since 2020 and has had experience being a CFO at multiple related publicly listed companies. Again, there are no names given, so I couldn't do a background check. There's also little information online about this person, so whether that is true or not is your guess. You know, it's their words. You kind of have to believe them on that or not. He founded MGM Resource Consulting, which provides accounting and corporate finances and tax services. These tax services, I do have to say, after looking at the balance sheet of this company, it does look like this person is an expert on the tax side of things, because there are a lot of tax deductions that this company uses that save them a lot of money, or at least they are writing it down in their accounting as if it saves them a lot of money. So there's definitely a high level of tax services being applied in this company, and I do appreciate that. Onto the board of directors. I'm sorry, there will come a day where I check these presentations before I do them, before I give them, and I remove all these spelling mistakes, but that day is not today. The board of directors consists of 5 people. Andrei Sharek, he has 15 years of experience in real estate management and is currently the vice president of vice president finance of a real estate developer in Quebec, in Canada. That is also where the property is located, so it kind of makes sense. Yvonne Jelnas is an experienced accountant with a specialization in Canadian and North American accounting principles and helped close deals between Asian and North American companies. I don't really know why they put this in the description because it doesn't seem like there will be any deals here between Asian and North American companies. But the fact that they put this in instead of some other points from the career tells me that there is just little that has to be said in relation to mining and minerals, and that's why they fill it up with some other things. We have a physics engineer, Luisa Moreno, 20 years experience in finance, business development, technical research in the mining and metals industry. So this person does have a little bit of experience in mining and metals, but also a lot in finance and business development. And then a little bit of an outlier in this board of director and this management is Philip Brumit. He has 45 years of experience in engineering development at companies like Lundin Mining, Freeport, McMoran, and Newmont Corp. These are all really big mining companies, and this is the only guy in this entire deck of directors and management who has experience at mining companies. And I do think that that is really strange because the deposit that this company has is extremely good. It looks extremely promising, but the management team just has little experience in them. And that is something that I think is really strange about this company, but we will get into that more in detail later. There is another director. He has a lot of investment banking experience with mergers, acquisitions, and no name given publicly listed companies. But just know that Philip is the only one with real experience working with real mining companies on big projects in operations. So, talking about the projects, the project that Amex Exploration runs is the Perron project. It is located on the border of Quebec and Ontario. And you can see here that their property is the Perron property. This is the first property that they had. It is a tightly, almost squared box in Quebec. And recently, well, a little while ago, they bought these claims spanning all the way through Ontario. And you will see in the next picture why they purchased the mineral claims. This is a little bit of a funky image with a lot of different colors in it, but don't worry, we're gonna guide you straight through it. Their first property was this property, this almost squared box right here. And you can see the yellow lines of mineralization. They go through the property. And the big thought behind this is that they have found a deposit here with a bunch of ounces, very high grade. And basically the thought experiment is if there's a deposit here, there is a potential that this mineralization trend goes on to the west, to the northwest, And why not buy the property there and start exploring there as well? That is the basic theme of this entire project. You can see that the zone is pretty large. They have 35 kilometers. That is, for an exploration company, that is a long way. And let's get into it, what they have. So let's first start with the Perron project, because that actually has a mineral resource in it. You can see here, we'll go back one slide. You can see the box here. And in this image, we're zooming in on that box. You can see that there are dots scattered all around this image, and those are the drill holes that this company has produced over the time that they've been exploring this project. The more red and the more dark the holes are, the higher the grades that they have encountered. So I have looked up on Google Maps where this property is located, and you can see that it is on the border of Ontario in the middle of nowhere. That is good. There are no lakes around, so that is also good. But it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere, but there's actually a town nearby that is a mining town with a good infrastructure and highly specialized and skilled labor. So it is located in an extremely favorable position. Let's see, we have the project right here, and you can see all the dots on here are the drill holes that they have made, and we are going to show you what those look like in a resource. And you can see that this company has produced a scattering of different deposits. So if we go back one slide, you can see that there are these lines going through the project, the upper and the lower line. And in this image, we also have that upper line and that lower line. And you can see that there are different zones in this deposit. So it's not one big deposit which you can bulk tonnage, which you can open pit and just mine for 10, 20 years. It's a very specialized it's going to be a very specialized mining operation where each zone will have a dedicated entrance and will have its own underground mining operation. So we are going to flip this image on its side, and I'm going to show you how this looks in depth. And you can see what this looks like. So they have a little bit of an open pitable area up top. You can see that in the blue. But then everything that's in red is going to be mined, or is going to be potentially mined when they have the permits and everything. Is going to potentially be mined underground. So it's a little bit of a combination between an underground mine and an open pit mine. And you can see most of the deposit is in the Champagne zone, as they call it. They probably popped a ball of champagne when they found this. I would definitely do that, so the name is fitting in my opinion. And the plan here is to mine a little bit up top just to get the dirt out of the way and then start mining straight down. And you can see that in this picture. So you can see the open pit mine up top and the projected downwards extension of this entire operation. So it's going to be a long tube going down with mining going on. That's how they are predicting to mine this project. So you can see that this project is pretty far along. It's pretty advanced. They got a good view of how they want to mine this. They are currently on the preliminary economic assessment stage. They do have a mineral resource out, and they are projecting that they will be producing about 110 ounces, 110,000 ounces of gold per year for a projected mine life of about 17 and a half years. So it's a pretty big project that can span almost 2 decades. They have a one of the higher grade deposits that I've seen in my time doing this, because in the first 4 years that they are projecting to mine this deposit, they are going to mine only the highest grades and the highest material that they have, which they say is going to be 10 grams per ton, and at an all-in sustaining cost that is projected at about $1,000. If you mine 10 grams a ton at $1,000 ASIC, that is going to be extremely profitable at a spot price of $4,000 an ounce for gold right now. So this project is out of the gate going to be extremely profitable once this gets into production, especially since they are projecting that the capex is going to be 150 million, the initial capex, and they are doing something pretty smart with this project, in my opinion. Well, it's a little bit of a gamble too, I would imagine, because they are projecting to mine this project in 2 phases. In the first phase, they are going to only mine underground, and they are going to truck the ore that they gather away to a processing plant that is not on site. So that means that they can start the operation pretty fast. They can start the operation with a lower capex because they don't need to make the production facility. They don't need to make a processing plant. They don't need that many workers on site, and they don't need permitting for a processing plant. But after those initial 4 years, after the initial phase 1, the 10 grams per ton phase, they are going to start a phase which is going to take the mine from 10 grams per ton to a little bit lower, but still extremely high, 5 grams per ton. And the next 12 years of that projected mine life is going to be spent mining the 5 grams per ton ore and building the processing plant on site, getting more people in there. So the economics of this project are a little bit skewed to the front of it, where they are projecting to make an extremely large amount of money extremely quickly in the project, and then tapering out the profits to the end when they start building the plans and getting more people involved and getting more of the permits. That is not to say that this mine will ever be unprofitable, because mining 5 grams per ton at $1,000 ASIC at a gold price of $4,000 is going to be profitable. In any situation. You really have to screw up not to make this profitable. The deposit has some size as well. It is not extremely big. It is about 1.6 million ounces of gold measured and indicated. And if you add the inferred resources that they have, that's about 2.3 million ounces. What a little risk is in this project is that the phase 1 and the phase 2, so the 2 different mining phases, need 2 different permitting processes. At least that's what the company states in their documents, which means that there can be substantial delays between the first phase and the second phase. It would be nice if they seamlessly lined up, but the processing, the permitting process is always going to be a little janky, and there will probably be delays due to that process. They are projecting to start operations mid-2028. If everything goes well, of course. Then I do want to talk about the Perron West. So we have spent our time talking about the Perron project. That is the box right there. And they are currently exploring the Perron West as well. And they are currently projecting a couple drill holes, and it will be interesting to see what comes out of this in the future. There has not been a lot of news about this yet, but I will be following this to see if this deposit or if there's gold here and if that can become a deposit. But I do have to say that if there will be a deposit here, this company might as well spin off this portion of the company into a separate entity, because one part is in Quebec, the other part is in Ontario. There are different people involved, different jurisdictions, different laws. So doing that under the same company, I don't know if that would make sense, but I'm not an expert in this, so please don't take my opinion for fact. But it will definitely be interesting to see what will happen to the west part of this project. So if we look at the amount of ounces that the company has as a deposit right now, we can see that they have about 150,000 ounces measured, about 1.4 million ounces indicated, and about 700,000 ounces inferred, for a total of 2.3 million ounces of gold. If we take the commodity price of $4,000 gold an ounce, this has dropped pretty substantially since the last presentation I did. But if you put any gold price that is above about 1600 here, this project would still be making money. You can see that the project at $4,000 gold is worth a maximum of 9.2 billion. Of course, this maximum deposit value is only attainable if you stand on top of the project and wave a magic wand, summon all the gold out of the ground and sell it today. Of course, that is not going to happen. I take a 15% buyout value to get some sort of a sense on a valuation for a project like this. You can see that at a 15% potential buyout value, you have about $1.4 billion dollars worth of gold in this deposit. If we look at the share structure, you can see that there are about 141.5 million shares outstanding, with 2.4 million warrants, 1.4 million options, for a fully diluted share count of 145 million. Currently, the stock is trading at 187, and it has a market cap of about 260 million. Eldorado Gold, which is a $5 billion gold company, holds 17% of the stock. They have been increasing this percentage over the years. So a potential outcome here would be that Eldorado Gold buys this entire company. That is a possibility. They started at 9.9%, but in recent financings, this percentage went up to 17. Eric Sprott holds 10.5%, which is a rather strange number to own, because Eric Sprott, as far as I can tell from watching him and seeing his investments, likes to keep his percentage under 10%. So to see him cross the 10% line, which adds a lot of paperwork that you need to do for your stock holdings, and then only go to 10.5%, does seem a little bit strange. Maybe this is an indication that there will be another buy coming from Eric Sprott to bump this percentage up. That's what I'm thinking about that. The insiders of the company own 6.2%, which relative to Eric Sprott and Eldorado Gold is pretty low, but given the industry standards, this is pretty good. They have some skin in the game. About what is 6% of 260 million? That is about, let's say, 8.5 to $9 million worth of insiders. So that's good. They have some skin in the game. And you can see that leaves about 66% of the stock in the hands of the retail investor. So do with that what you will. If we look at the balance sheet, this was pretty hard to read since half the balance sheet was in French. I don't speak French, so I had to some troubles reading this. On the 3 months ending on 30th of June 2025, they had about $6 million in cash and about $2.5 million in liabilities. They spent about $740,000 on G&A activities, which is a pretty good Most of that was professional fees. Nothing really out of the ordinary there. No big expenses that couldn't be traced or couldn't be explained. I did not see any based payments, which makes me think that I just simply missed them. Again, this balance sheet was a little bit complicated to read, so um, I did not see the share-based payments. Maybe somebody else who has a little bit more experience or has a better French than I do can tell me what the company paid for their share-based compensations. Mm, They also didn't spend any money on exploration in those 3 months, which, if you look at their news flow, also makes sense. Although recently, we will come to that in the next slide, they have started exploring again, so that's good to see. Since they have no exploration costs and only G&A costs, the exploration to G&A ratio is 100%. That is, of course, extremely high. But since they have started exploring again, we will see what this does in the future and if they manage to get a good ratio in the future. They have incurred a total loss of $740,000 US, and to compensate for that loss, they have issued 1.5 million shares. At the time of this dilution, they had a fully diluted share count of 122 million, and it gave them a dilution rate of 1.2%. As you can see, and if you've been paying attention, this number is different from the total numbers of shares that are outstanding today. And that is because the company has recently, meaning after the last financial report, raised about $37 million Canadian in a private placement. But some good things to see here is that it was sold at a pretty good share price of 160, and the current share price is almost 180. So they sold it at a pretty good price with no warrant, and the offering was oversubscribed and exceeded the maximum size previously announced by 7.2 million. So that was even more demand than the company would be able to fill, and that is always good to see. There is more money that wants to come into this stock. They have also continued on their timeline. They stated in their last report that they would submit an underground bulk sample permit. They have done that. That is good. They are planning and expecting that that they can start the bulk processing, the bulk sampling in Q1 2026. So they are projecting to start the mining here in 2028, but they need the bulk samples, and that can start in 2026. So if you decide to become a shareholder of this company, expect to be waiting until 2026 to get any substantial change in the status of this project. They have also commenced a feasibility study on the project, moving the project from a PEA to a feasibility study phase, which is a little bit more advanced. So it will be interesting to see how they are going to explore this property further, and how they are going to deal with the challenges in the underground mining, especially since the mine is going so deep and is going so narrow. I would like to see how they solve those projects in their feasibility study. So we'll definitely be looking at that once it comes out. In my opinion, if this company sees this presentation, please fix your website, because every time I go on this website, I need to click a CAPTCHA and it takes like 10 seconds for it to load. It's really annoying. Please fix it. It can be hard to do because no other website has this. It's only this company that has this. It's really annoying. Other than that, the deposit is extremely high grade. 10%, 5 to 10% grams per ton is extremely good, extremely profitable. There are no serious downsides. There is no road that crosses the property. There is no lakes on top. It is not on the top of a hill. It's not in some middle of nowhere, Alaska, or some island somewhere. It's just in Canada, Quebec. Everybody knows the place. It is good economics. It is located near a great town, but it requires multiple permitting processes to get the project through the different phases. So expect delays, expect long waiting times with this stock. Expect 4 or 5 years before any of this gold is going to get mined. The management, with all due respect, seems inexperienced. Their professional careers do not one-on-one match minerals and exploration. So I would like to see what happens to this management if some other people step in, if it gets sold to another company, and then to see how it will develop afterwards. Talking about the Perron West, and since it's in a different jurisdiction with different rules and different permit requirements, it might as well be a different company. But we will also see what will happen with that. I do think that this project is extremely economically interesting, and given the share price where it is now, I do think that there is some potential a gap between the potential value of this deposit and the current market cap. That being said, I do own shares in this company, so consider me biased for this company and this project. And I would like to say that everything that I've said is just my opinion, of course. I want to thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next presentation. Like the video, leave a comment, let me know how you like the new style of the presentation, and subscribe to the channel. All right, bye-bye.